Winter and spring are now gone, and summer is upon us. Most are ready to go to the beach, playing in the ocean, playing volleyball, and socializing are all fun things to do there while out in the sun. But a sunburn appears late in the day. The remainder of the weekend is now spent in your room applying sunburn lotion and having a very irritable and painful sunburn. Most will always be in the sun improperly. This is a very dangerous move. 20% of Americans will develop skin cancer from excessive sun exposure. Skin cancer can develop from harmful UV rays that appear from the sun. Redness, blistering, pain, tingling, and nausea, as well as a headache, are signs and symptoms of sunburn and sun poisoning. These symptoms can develop in as little as 15 minutes of unprotected sun exposure. Hello, my name is Adam Godfrey, and today I would like to talk to you about the use of sunscreen. I believe this is very important because excessive sun exposure is very dangerous and is also unavoidable. After conducting a questionnaire, I found out that less than 70% of people use proper sunscreen and the amounts. For those of the 70% of people, they're not using the proper sunscreen, the amount of sunscreen, or type of sunscreen that they need to be using. Today I'm going to discuss the problem with not using sunscreen, the effects that are accompanied by the sunscreen as well. I also want to discuss what sunscreen is best to use, when to apply it, how to apply the sunscreen, and the amount of sunscreen that you need to apply. If sunscreen is not used, sunburn and sun poisoning may occur. This can lead to damaged cells and blood vessels. Your skin will appear dry, wrinkled, discolored, and leathery. The skin will also weaken and bruise easily due to skin degeneration. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, 1/3 of adults reported sunburn in the past year. Rates were higher among men and the non-Hispanic white population. Also, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, American teens the age of 14 through 17, which were half of non-Hispanic white teens, 22% of Hispanic teens, 18% of non-Hispanic Asian teens, and 7% of non-Hispanic black teens reported a sunburn in the past year. According to the Academy for Dermatology, an estimated 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer. Of the current population, that is 325,624,882 people, 65,124,936 will develop skin cancer, which is an astounding number for something that can be prevented. Skin cancer is the most common cancer and may be prevented by simply using sunscreen. Skin cancer, which includes melanoma and non-melanoma, is the 5th most costliest cancer in America. Over $10 million in 2014 were spent in treatment and lost time at work. $10 million that could have been unavoided. Anyone, no matter race, gender, ethnicity, or age, are all susceptible to skin cancer. The use of sunscreen will protect you from the sun's ultraviolet rays, which are very, very harmful. UV rays are emitted year-round. Even on cloudy days, 80% of UV rays can still be emitted that can harm you. Snow, sand, and water will also reflect UV rays. This will create an increased need to use sunscreen. So that means that sun can also not affect you from the sky, but it can also reflect from the ground. A broad spectrum sunscreen is best because it protects you from UVA rays and UVB rays. UVA rays are long wave rays, and they will penetrate deep into your skin's dermis, which is the lowest layer of your skin. UVB rays are short wave rays, and they are usually burn superficial parts of your skin, which is the outermost layer. UVB rays are a key role in skin cancer. The highest intensity UVB rays are from 10 in the morning until 4 at night, which is normally the hottest part of the day. When purchasing sunscreen, the sun protection factor, or SPF, is very critical to pay attention to. An SPF rating of 30 or higher is recommended. SPF 0 blocks 0% of UV rays. SPF 10 will only block 90% of the rays. SPF 15 will block 93% of the rays. SPF 30, which is what's recommended, blocks 97% of the rays, or SPF 50 will block 99% of the rays. There is no evidence that any rating over SPF 50 will be beneficial and block 100% of the rays. Sunscreen is also available in many different forms, and you should try to use a couple of different types, such as creams. They work best for dry skin and the face area. Gels work best for hairy areas, which work best on the scalp or the male chest. Sticks work best for around the eyes and the hard to get areas. And water resistant is a great quality. You're going to want that when you're swimming or sweating. Sprays are also available in sunscreens, and they're very easy to apply. However, the necessary amount is usually not used, and they're not regulated by the FDA. The sprays can be very unsafe and very ineffective. Although they're not very effective, over 50% of sunscreens sold are sprays, and we need to lower that number. For those with sensitive skin or ones with infants, specific sunscreens are available for use, and I highly recommend that. Cosmetics are also available with sunscreen, and that may be very convenient for some. The use of sunscreen will aid in the health of your skin, and sunscreen is also very affordable. A mere $2.10 is all it costs for an application of sunscreen. Sunscreen is readily available. You can get it at most pharmacies, grocery stores, or service stations. Sunscreen will reduce the risk of sunburn that is very painful and very, very irritable. It will also reduce sun poisoning, which can lead to blisters, which are possibly able to be infected. Blisters, headaches, swelling, chills, also a fever, dizziness, and dehydration are all signs of sun poisoning. Also, with excessive exposure, it can lead to skin cancer. Once again, 1 in 5 Americans have skin cancer. By following these recommendations, you can be protected from the sun. Use a broad spectrum sunscreen. Have an SPF rating of at least 30, which blocks 97% of UV rays. Apply to all body parts that are not covered by the skin. You also need to be sure to use the proper amount, which is 1 ounce, the size of a shot glass. At $2.10 is all 1 ounce is. Apply 15 minutes before going outdoors. Don't forget your lip balm. They also need to be covered as well in SPF 30. And reapply every 2 hours or after swimming and sweating. The only reason not to use sunscreen is if your body is completely covered by clothing, which is very hard to do. If you're using cosmetics that don't have sunscreen, be sure to apply sunscreen before using the cosmetics. Also, I'd like you to apply very liberally. It's better to use way too much than not enough. I'm very confident that if you follow all the previous recommendations that I gave you, you will be much safer while outdoors. Thanks, and have a great afternoon.